Hello, everybody. In this screencast, we're going to learn why water is awesome. Woohoo! All right. First of all, water is the molecule that supports all life on Earth. It's the biological medium, and all living things require water more than any other substance. So the carbohydrates that you use to make your energy, any of the proteins you eat, any of that stuff, water is still much more necessary. And it's necessary because all of the reactions, the chemical reactions that occur in your body, have to take place in aqueous solution. Okay? So dust off your chemistry, kids, because we're going to need it for this first part of the year. Okay? And always kind of keep it in mind as we go throughout the year. All right. So your cells, which is a basic unit of life, are surrounded by water, and they themselves are made of mostly water, so that all those chemical reactions can happen. Okay, and the abundance of water is one of the reasons why Earth is habitable, right? If we go out to space and we find a planet, the first thing we look for, if we're trying to figure out if this planet can sustain life, is water. So, oh, look, this is water. This is life. Ta-da! All right, so why can water sustain? Why is water so awesome? It has to do with, again, chemistry. It's because of the polar covalent bonds. Polar covalent bonds occur in a molecular compound when you have a large difference in electronegativities between the two atoms involved in the bond. Okay, we all know this. If you do not understand polarity or electronegativity for that matter, or atoms, you need to go back and do some serious reviewing of your chemistry because you got to know that stuff. Okay, so because water has polar covalent bonds, that causes a charge difference across the bond, which causes a lot of times a charge difference across the entire molecule, making the molecule polar. So opposite ends have opposite charges. Okay, this polarity allows water molecules to form hydrogen bonds. Okay, hydrogen bonds. We're going to talk about hydrogen bonds all day, every day this year. The answer is always hydrogen bonds. If I say, what's the answer? Hydrogen bonds is usually the correct one. It's always a good guess. All right, so here's our little structure of water. We have our oxygen end, which we get a partial negative. The hydrogen ends get a partial positive. And because there's a difference in charge across the molecule, those charged ends can be attracted to the charged ends of other adjacent water molecules. Okay, so and then they can form hydrogen bonds. And this is what kind of keeps water molecules together, sticking to each other. Okay, so let's go into some of the properties of water. Okay, and every single one of the properties of water has to do with that polarity of the molecule and those hydrogen bonds. So you can almost say that the first two properties of water is that it's polar. Let's add it's polar, and that it forms hydrogen bonds. So we can add those on the end. Okay, so we've already talked about those two. So we're going to start talking about the cohesiveness of water. And then we'll talk about the rest: ability to modulate temperature, expansion on freezing, versatility as a solvent. Okay, so first we're going to talk about cohesion of water molecules. Okay, so these hydrogen bonds between the polar water molecules hold them together. And this phenomenon is called cohesion. Cohesion means that water sticks to itself. So it's really hard, because it's a very strongly polar molecule, it's hard to pull those molecules apart. So they cohese together. They stick together in a process called cohesion. All right. So cohesion along with adhesion, which we'll get to in a second, is what helps move water around, transports water against gravity in plants, right? So from the roots up to the leaves. So cohesion, and adhesion is an attraction of the polar water molecule to something else. Like, for example, if it's in a tree, to the sides of the xylem tubes, which transport water in a tree. If you put a drop of water on your desk, it's attracted to your desk. If you put water in a graduated cylinder, it's attracted to the sides of the cylinder, and you get a meniscus. Okay, so cohesion is the process that holds water molecules to each other, and adhesion is the process by which water molecules stick to something else, like a plant cell wall. All right, so here's our lovely picture of our tree. So the water goes in through the roots. Even if it rains on the leaves, they don't take in water. Water always goes in through the roots, and then with a combination of cohesion and adhesion, is drawn up the trunk and into the leaves, which are the site of photosynthesis. And this is looking at the water conducting cells, which you may as well know now are called xylem. File that away for the spring. Okay, and you can see here cohesion between two water molecules, adhesion, water molecules to something else. Okay, all right. Another product of cohesion is something we call surface tension. And you guys all are familiar with surface tension. I would be shocked if there's any of you that hasn't done a belly flop into the pool, the lake, the ocean, whatever. And it doesn't feel good, does it? Smack. It feels like the surface of the water is pretty hard. And that's because those water molecules are holding each other so tightly, it takes energy for you to break through them. So you hit it and they hold. So it's like hitting a more solid surface than you would think it is. Okay. And surface tension is related to cohesion. And surface tension is what allows those little water bugs to kind of skitter around on the surface of the water, and sometimes different things to rest on top of the water, like leaves and stuff like that. Debris. And I think we have, oh yes, ooh, I hate spiders. But here's a lovely picture of a spider resting on the surface of the water. And you see it's kind of on the surface. It's pushing the water down a little bit with its weight, but it's not breaking through the surface. Okay, down with spiders. And that is it for this one. Go on to the next screencast on water, which will deal with the rest of the properties.